Let me tell you something super important. People think citation consistency is really valuable and important. That is a long-standing SEO myth. I know. I run a service where we get paid to go and clean up people's listings. And so I'm telling you, this is straight from the horse's mouth. There's not really a strong SEO benefit to investing in that. You don't need to waste your energy, your time, your money on citation consistency.
Welcome to Show Me the Nuggets, where each week Joe chats with world-class entrepreneurs to find out the key principles, strategies, and processes that lie behind their outstanding achievements. Now, your host, the no bullshit serial entrepreneur, Joe Troyer.
Hey everybody, it's Joe Troyer and welcome back to Show Me the Nuggets. I'm super excited today to have on somebody that's been in this industry, and honestly I've been following for probably like going on 10, 11 years, I would bet. Let's see how long ago Darren actually founded this business. But today's guest is Darren Shaw from Whitespark. And again, if you've been in this industry for any real amount of time, I'm sure the Whitespark brand or name rings a bell. But welcome officially to the show, Darren.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, Joe. It's great to be here. Yeah, I founded the business in 2005. So wow. It's been a minute. I didn't shift until being solely focused on local SEO until about 2010. Prior to that, we were a web development agency. So we started, building websites for local businesses, getting them ranked. And then in 2010, we built that local citation finder software and just said, hey, this SaaS thing looks pretty good. Let's do that. Yeah.
It seems like that was like a hit, right? I remember when that like dropped on the scene, so to speak. And I feel like you guys just came out of like left field, like out of the middle of nowhere. And you went from like, I didn't know who you were to like a dominant name in the space. At least my perception of it, like was it in reality? Was it kind of like that, or was it very different?
It was kind of like that. It was like I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. That's where our company's based out of. And we were just a web development company. Our whole focus in the world was our city, Edmonton. It's like, that's all we cared about. and then that local citation finder, we were like, oh, this is a cool idea. Let's build this thing. And then some of the big heavy hitters in local SEO caught wind of it. David Mim, Mike Blumenthal, Matt McGee, and they'd written posts about it and they shared it. Like, I remember getting a message on Skype. That's what we were using at the time. David Mim wants to have a chat with you. And I was like, oh my God, David Mim wants to talk to me. And so that was it. Yeah, it totally put us on the map. And then it built connections and relationships. And I was able to sort of just kind of get involved in the local SEO community through that. And it's been my obsession since 2010, and I just love everything about local SEO. And so, yeah, that is what happened. It really just like, oh, we're now a global company providing SEO.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So if somebody's not familiar with Whitespark, could you give like kind of the top high level view of kind of your main product services and how you guys help when it comes to local SEO?
Yeah, for sure. So there's sort of 5 main products and services. Our listing service, or the local citation finder, let's just go chronologically. So we started with the local citation finder. That was our like sort of first SaaS software. There's a free version and there's plans for more. And what that software does is that it finds all the places your business is listed online, and then finds all the places your top competitors are listed online and says, hey, your top competitors have all these citations. You might want to get those ones too. And so it kind of guides you, and every week it does another crawl and shows you new opportunities. So there's that software, and that's the one that put us on the map. And then we realized lots of people don't actually want to build their own citations. So let's build a service. So we made a service. I hired citation savant, absolute expert. He was the man, he still is the man, of course, but he had his own thing going, Yaroslav Zhekov. And so he was this absolute genius in terms of citations. And, him and I started chatting, and then there was an opportunity for us to work together. And so very fortunate for him to join the company. And he built our entire citation team in Bulgaria. So we have a team of, I think there's 20 some people over there, and they do all of our listings work. and so we have the listing service. So that's like cleaning up your listings for inconsistencies, building out new citations. That whole team does that. Then we built the Whitespark local rank tracker. It's been a labor of love since 2012, which is when we started building it. Now I believe it has evolved into the best local rank tracker in the industry. It's absolutely phenomenal. We've got some great new features that we just added. Finds Google duplicates. It looks beautiful. It's easy to use. And so we have that. Really obvious choice for agencies to check out. We have our reputation builder software. So that's review generation software, helps you ask for reviews via email, text, embed reviews on your website, monitor, respond to reviews, all that stuff. So we have that application. Then we also have our own basically agency arm now. So it started off as only Google, at the time was Google My Business Management. So we would just manage your listing, keep it up to date with Google Posts, manage it. Manage your reviews, respond to reviews, do some spam fighting. We just did everything on your Google listing, but now it is expanded because those clients come in and they're like, oh, can you do our website? Sure. Can you do a link building? Sure. So now we actually basically have a full SEO agency arm in our SEO services. And that's fully white labelable too for agencies. We work with about half of our client base are probably agencies that just white label that off to us. So that's the full gamut of what we do at Whitespark. It was a bit long, sorry.
No. Very, very good. So you mentioned obviously the citation finder, then the evolution was okay, great. Nobody wants to build their own citations, right? It's a super tedious process, yep. Right? Especially when you start talking about accuracy of the listings and verification and right? It gets pretty monotonous. So I can see why you'd expand there, but also see why you'd want to run the other way. Right. I don't know if we can even go about this. I'm curious as a founder, what made you decide to embrace that and take it head on? Was it that relationship that was all right, great. If this guy can really help take this on because he's an expert, we can do it. And if not, no. Right. Because it's a big, hairy, audacious project, if you will. Right. It's not software development and, it's not super spelled out. It's not super repeatable. The things are always changing. I'm curious your mindset there in that process, Darren.
Yeah, so it's 100% wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for Yaroslav. So, Yaroslav he actually had already built his own team and he was doing it. He was more interested in the operation side than the business marketing side. And so the synergy worked really well there. And so, our brand name was gaining reputation, and it was just a great partnership. And so having Yaroslav join was 100% the reason why I was able to do it, and being able to partner with him and build a team under his direction. I wouldn't have had time to do it. So just having him available to do it was the reason why it made perfect sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts of using a service where you use the data aggregators, right? Or you use Yext, right? Versus kind of the manual citation building that you guys do, I think is a topic that SEOs are always talking about, asking about what's best practice, why. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't, talk about that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think that there is a use case for Yext and Uberall and the likes of those kinds of platforms where you put your locations in it and then they sync to the sites. There is a case for that. And in my mind, that case is you have 100 plus locations. You have 100 plus locations. You have a lot of flux. You got locations closing, opening, changing hours. You need a centralized place that you can just update it once and it's going to push.
Yep.
The problem with those automated systems is that they don't do a great job. So often what happens is if you have, let's say you already had a listing on Bing, but it's claimed personally by a human, then that listing is kind of locked. It's like Yext is locked out. So what does Yext do? They pretend it doesn't exist and they make a new listing and then they sync to that one. So when you log into your Yext dashboard, oh, it's great. Oh, great. All my listings are synced, but you've got a litter of duplicate, inconsistent listings that were unable to sync. And so they just pretend they don't exist. So that's it. It's just not a great job, first of all. But if you've got 1,000 locations, you're kind of, it's like you don't really have an option. We could do it manually, but then when you come to us, it was like, oh yeah, we can definitely do that job. It's going to take us 6 months. And people are like, wait a minute, I need this done tomorrow. So it doesn't usually go so well. But if we're talking about an agency that has, let's say you got 50 clients, let's say you got 200 clients. Oh my God, it's painful for me to see you spending that money month after month, year after year for these recurring services. Because in my mind, citations are a once and done thing for most, like single location business, up to 10 location businesses, up to 50 location businesses. There's not so much change that you need to manage it all the time. And so that's the massive value proposition is you pay once and you check citations off your to-do list. It's done. You don't have to, you do it in month 2, month 3, or whatever, when you're working with a client, month 1, if you like, get the citations done and just call them done. You don't have to keep spending this recurring fee. And so from an agency perspective, this is a huge value proposition. At least 70% of our orders coming in on our listing service are from agency. We do thousands per month. And so it's just such an easy outsource to us for that. And I don't want this to be a sales pitch. I'm trying to tell you about how, why it's just like for the same cost, you could just get it done once rather than pay that same amount every year. And so that's kind of how I feel about it. Data aggregators are interesting. You mentioned that, so I want to just quickly touch on that. Data aggregators, people need to know that they don't push data to the sites in their distribution network. The sites in their distribution network are buying data from the aggregator. So it's more of like a pull. And different sites pull that data at different rates of speed. And so sometimes, let's say a site like yellowpages.com might pull a feed from Data Axle once a month. And so you make an update in Data Axle and you might see that go live in Yellow Pages in a month. Another site, like let's say Merchant Circle is a real classic example. They pull a feed maybe once a quarter, and they don't even validate the data. They just keep pumping new listings. So you'll have like 14 duplicates on Merchant Circle. And so it's just the hassle of citations. Let me tell you something super important. People think citation consistency is really valuable and important. That is a long-standing SEO myth. I know I run a service where we get paid to go and clean up people's listings. And so I'm telling you, it's just straight from the horse's mouth. There's not really a strong SEO benefit to investing in that. You don't need to waste your energy, your time, your money on citation consistency. It's just not, it doesn't have an impact. It's like there's so many more valuable things for you to invest in your agency for your clients. And so I just feel like this thing, it happened in the early days. Citation consistency was a big deal. It was like, if I don't have my citations correct, I won't get credit for them. It was almost like, imagine this. You got all these links on the internet, but they're pointing to a different website. You want those links to point to your website, right? And so that was the idea. But Google has become much more sophisticated, particularly since they switched to the knowledge graph. Before it was like, imagine a static database and all these data points had to match in order for you to get credit. Now they can do partial matches and they're like, oh yeah, this one is, the likelihood that this is a mention of that business is a 30% threshold. So that one maybe doesn't count, but partial matches do work. So this whole idea of consistency is just not really an SEO thing. So for me, consistency on the sites where humans see your data, that's what's important. So you want to have the right phone number. You want to have the right address. You want people to go to the right address. So that's Apple Maps, Bing, Google, obviously. So it's just the sites that have core visibility. And I think it's important to have it updated in the aggregators as well because of that distribution effect. But beyond that, I could care less if my huckleberry.com has the wrong phone number. Doesn't matter.
Completely agree. No harm, no foul in you pitching us, so to speak. It really wasn't a pitch. I threw you a softball. I didn't even throw it. I lobbed it because I know we have the same philosophy on citations. One and done is much better, in my opinion, as well for most businesses. And I think you gave some really good examples there. And thanks for clarifying with about the data aggregators and the push versus pull. I think that's really important. I think a lot of people don't understand that. They think, hey, I go list with the data aggregator and then magically everywhere my citations are going to be, and they're going to be correct. And, we know that that's not really true.
Yeah, data aggregators are not a great cleanup solution, that's for sure, because it's all at the mercy of what the sites do with the data that they're taking in. So one site might take the data, match it, and then push an update. Another site might say, "Yeah, this doesn't look like the same listing," so they make a new one. And so it really, it doesn't do a great cleanup job. But I would also say something like Yext or Uberall doesn't also do a great cleanup job, which is another benefit of going the manual approach, because our team, first step is not variation discovery. So discovery of your different names, addresses, and phone numbers out there. So we do a deep search and we kind of find, oh yeah, they're known by these 3 names. I found these 3 different phone numbers. I found these 2 different addresses. And then we go to each site and we search those. So we actually do a real comprehensive audit. And then we remove the duplicates, claim the best listing, get it accurate, or we create a listing if you don't have one. So it's just that manual approach, make sure that it's done properly.
Yeah. And I think that that should always be done for a client one time, but I agree with you. It doesn't need to be kept up over time, especially if you go out with the data aggregators and you make sure it's up to date there. And then also kind of the top 3 to 5, for each of those businesses, I think is plenty. So you brought up that the consistency isn't as big of a ranking factor as a lot of people believe. It's kind of an SEO myth. So I think that's the perfect segue to talking about the local search ranking survey that you guys took over. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the local search ranking factors is a survey of the top experts in local SEO. I'm sure there's some great experts out there that I've missed, but people that are known, that are publishing, speaking about local SEO. And so when you aggregate, I asked a series of questions, and then I aggregate all their data, and then they kind of sort their factors. Like, this is my most important factor down to my least important. They pick a top 20. So when you do that across 40 some people, the ones that are really valuable tend to surface to the top, right? And so it really helps to understand what drives rankings in local search. And then I do have a section in there about myths, which is, I think you were heading to. And so the survey was created by David Mim way back in 2008. And in 2017, he passed the reins to me. So I'm really lucky to run it. It's a lot of work, so I guess I understand why he passed it. But it's a wonderful survey. It's an amazing resource for local search practitioners. If you haven't seen it, of course, you got to check it out. But yeah, do you want to talk about one of the myths questions?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about kind of some of the top myths besides the NAP consistency.
Yeah, sure. I actually don't even have that one in there as one of the myths, I don't think. Yeah. All right. Where's my myths? Can I go into that section? Oh yeah. So I asked the question, what factors do you think absolutely do not impact rankings? So these are the myth busting. So this is my favorite one, top of the list. This is the one that comes up all the time. And there's a lot of snake oil in the industry about this particular myth. Ooh. Geotagging your photos before uploading them to GMB. Oh my God. It's sold by software companies, and you see it on the landing pages of agencies, we're going to geotag your photos. Oh my God. So that's not a thing. What happens is when you upload a photo to Google, it strips all that data out. So it's like, there's absolutely no value in doing that. Don't bother. Don't waste your time on geotagging photos. And this has been tested by a number of practitioners. They geotag the photos, so no ranking benefit, so no benefit whatsoever. So geotagging photos, number 1, top of the list. Another one that people think is, or do you want to say anything about geotagging?
Just love that. I think back in the day when it was still Google Places, right? I remember definitely geotagging images, but I can't remember, man, how many years it's been since that kind of went away in my own practices. But yeah, I think that's definitely a big one for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Actually, back in the day, I was so excited when I discovered that I could stuff keywords into the EXIF data of images and then upload it. I was like, this is it. It's my ticket to rankings, but it has no impact. So another big one that people are not aware of, a lot of people aren't aware of this, is that putting keywords in your description in your Google business profile, no impact on rank. And the reason is Google does not factor in the description field into the ranking algorithm. It's completely ignored. And I suppose it's like, you can try and tell us what you do. Categories, huge, right? That's has a massive impact on ranking. And keywords in the business name, I just did a video on that. That one's Spamsville, USA, because it works so well. But keywords in the description, no, nothing. Keywords in your products, no, has no impact on ranking. Keywords in the services, no. So there's no sense in stuffing those. Write them like you're writing ad copy. You want it to be compelling, and you're writing it for conversions, not for rankings. So that's an important one that I think people need to be aware of, is that the only fields in your Google profile that have an impact on ranking is keywords in the business name. Don't spam it. You should actually change your name. You could potentially get penalized, but Google doesn't police it very well. Keyword or your primary category, huge. It's like number 1, I think last year was the number ranking factor. Your secondary categories, add any additional categories that you can think of that your business is related to, because it's like, okay, now I can rank for that term too. But anywhere else on your listing doesn't really impact ranking.
So you talked about the naming, right? And keyword stuffing the name, right? So it used to be that like only the black hats did that, right? Like only the gray hats, the black hats, like that was classic spam 101, but it worked so well, you saw why they did it. I feel like today it's kind of a confusing thing for a lot of actual SEOs. Can I do this? Is it best practice to do this? Is it me being gray hat or black hat if I use this? I don't feel like anybody really knows where the line is right now. What's your thought in terms of that?
Yeah, so this question is so great, because I just wrote my script for the video I'm going to record today on answering that question.
Perfect
because
timing.
It's amazing, because I just released a video last week, because after the vicinity update that happened in December, the vicinity local algorithm update, it was identified that it seemed like keywords in the business name had less of an impact. Local SEOs rejoice. It's like, great, Google finally solved the spam problem. But I didn't know if it'd been like completely wiped out. Some people actually thought that keywords in the business name might hurt your rankings. So they're like, oh, should I take the keywords out? My rankings dropped. Oh no, should I take keywords out of my business name? And so my advice was to not take it out. And I wanted to test this. So I was like, okay, post vicinity, I'm going to add some keywords to my business name. What happens? And so I'm measuring this in our Whitespark local rank tracker. And it's like, 20 position jump overnight. It still works like a charm. It has a massive impact on ranking. So yes, keywords in the business name, still very impactful for rankings. Now, your question is, should I do it? The answer to that question is, it's really related to your risk tolerance. If you do it, you will get the ranking benefit. How risky is it? How likely is it your listing will get suspended? It's fairly unlikely. It's good to know that, because it's like the most likely thing that will happen is, in the case that someone doing spam fighting reports you, Google will be like, thanks for the report. And then they take the keywords out of your business name and life goes on, right? It's like, all right, cool. Moving along, no problem. If you get reported multiple times, multiple infractions, and then a Google product expert escalates it and says, dude, you got to suspend this guy. He just keeps infraction after infraction after infraction. Then Google's support team, their arm will finally be twisted and you'll maybe get suspended. It's hard to get suspended. It's hard to suspend someone. Anyone that does spam fighting knows how hard it is to get this damn stuff taken off of Google. So that should give you a sense of how risky is it to put the keywords in the business name. So now you got to say, well, am I going to make $10 million more a year because I now rank #1 with a keyword in the business name? Some businesses might see that benefit, right? And so I don't know, take the risk. But there is a surefire way to put keywords in your business name and not incur any risk whatsoever. And that is to rebrand. We did a rebrand for a business that before it was just like, nondescript business brand name.
Yep.
And then we're like, if you get these keywords in your name, I'm telling you, it's going to have a huge impact. So we worked with them to actually change their name with the Secretary of State. We worked with them to change it on their logo, their website, their signage, their t-shirts. Like their business cards, their utility company. So like, a lot of people overlook this. Then of course you do a citation update. So we worked with them, of course, through our listing service to update all their citations. The amazing thing is you can't get suspended if it's actually a business name. So there you go. That's your risk-free way to reap the rewards of how strong of a ranking factor this is.
Yeah, definitely a very strong ranking factor. Thanks for the clarity. I love the client example too. I have a friend that does marketing, local SEO specifically for dentists, and he only works with like a dozen dentists, but he requires them to change their business name and helps them through the process.
It's like, if you want to rank, you better change your name. That's part of our, it's just like, you got to do it.
Here's my track record. Like 99% of my clients have gotten on page 1 for their primary keyword phrase.
Totally.
Like, so it definitely works. Obviously very big commitment though on the other side.
Oh, I will say one other thing about it. It works now. So if you did this full rebrand, you might find that, okay, oh man, the August 2022 Google local algorithm update hit, and Google decided we're going to stop giving any credit to keywords in the business name. So now you've renamed your business to Denver Dentist Near Me. Now you've got a stupid looking brand name. So that is something to consider.
Yeah, that's too funny.
Yeah, super quick. Basically, if you are interested in any of the Whitespark products or services that I mentioned earlier, thanks for asking me about that. Then you can find them at whitespark.ca, and anyone on this listening to this podcast can get 15% off of our rank tracker, our listing service. If you wanted to white label our SEO services that are very reasonably priced, then I think the promo code I came up with was nuggets. So if you show us your nuggets when you sign up, then you're going to get 15% off.
Thanks for tuning in and showing me the nuggets. If you've been enjoying the podcast and find our content helpful, please visit our Apple Podcast page, hit the subscribe button, and leave us a review. Joe and the whole team have been working hard to bring more value to the show. Your feedback will go a long way in helping us make the show better and reach a wider audience.